Peter, good to see you again. How are you? Are you well? Are you feeling good? I'm good, but I'm nowhere near as good as this lot. Look at that. Get some weird underwater effects by adding salt to your pictures. And I go out and about for another big art attack. And how's about a way of getting perfect pictures every single time? You know, lots of people say to me, I can't draw, or, hey, Neil, how'd you draw that? Or, show me how to draw this, or, how can I be better at art? Well, do you want to know my secret? Sketch lightly first. When you're drawing a picture, or painting a picture, whatever you're doing, sketch it lightly first. The lighter the better. That way you can adjust your mistakes as you go and people won't see them because they're so light. Now use a light pencil or charcoal, anything that makes light wispy lines, and just gently sketch onto your paper. Now you're going to have to look really closely because I'm going to do it very lightly. The idea is to just lightly sketch the rough positions of things on your picture. And you can keep adjusting complicated shapes as you go. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes, you can hardly see them. Just adjust that. That's not quite right. I'm just going to go over it again. There it is. You can even redraw things 3 or 4 times. It doesn't matter as long as it's slightly sketched. Yeah, so that's just about it. Now, OK, it's a bit of a mess, but it doesn't matter because it's so lightly sketched, you won't see that lot when they're finished, because when you're happy with your rough sketch, you just go over it with heavier lines.
And it's just a case of using the light sketch lines as a guide. Just draw over them heavier. And as you add more detail, most of your rough sketch underneath will disappear. And those little sketch lines just help you get a more accurate, detailed picture in the end. And just finish off around there with a bit of shading. And there it is, look at that. And don't worry if you can still see some of those lightly sketched lines. I think they add character to the picture.
Anyway, they're easy to rub out if you've done them really lightly. And you know, I promise you, it really will make a difference to your pictures if you lightly sketch them in rough first. I do it with every picture I've done. Look at these ones. This picture started out as a really sketchy mess, and look at it. And these complicated shapes were blocked in lightly and altered many times before I finally drew it heavily. And I made lots of mistakes on this before I got it right, but they were so light you could hardly see them. Try it yourself. One of the real secrets to creating a great picture: sketch lightly first.
Ah, the good old countryside, where people enjoy themselves in their favourite pastimes, taking a stroll by the riverbanks. Nature in its full glory. And artists there to do a big art attack.
what a lovely, tranquil, big art attack. Hey, I've had some great holidays like that, chugging through the beautiful countryside aboard a narrowboat. I even made a model of one recently. Do you want to see it? A narrowboat! Do you get it? A narrowboat!
Hey, shh, come here. Shh. Look what I've got down here. Look at that. In the jar. It's a garden gremlin. You mean there's no such thing? They're easy to make. In 4 easy parts. A 4-part attack.
First, choose a jar that you want to put your gremlin in, and if you take the lid off, you can always use it as a guide for the size of gremlin to make. Then, a scrunched up ball of newspaper makes a good body. Just tape on a smaller piece of newspaper to form a neck, and then another more oval-shaped ball that's a bit smaller than the body, and you tape that on for the head. And don't forget to use plenty of tape to make it nice and strong.
So that's the body. Now, if you use the lid as a guide, you know it'll fit into the jar, and you see I've left plenty of room for his arms and legs. It's okay, let's give him some arms and legs.
For his arm, just cut a square of newspaper and then roll it up and just twist it a little bit. And the idea is to just open a little bit of the end out and flatten it to make a little hand. Then place the arm onto the body and tape it into place. Now, to get the shape, you have to bend it at the elbow and tape the hand into position under the chin. And again, just pop on some tape. And the idea is to make another arm in exactly the same way and tape that into place. For legs, twist and shape some newspaper into a chicken drumstick shape and tape that into position on the body. Now, it's a little fiddly, but keep going because it'll look fantastic. On it goes. And then bend the leg into the middle to make a knee joint, and make another leg in exactly the same way and tape that into position. And for the feet, cut 2 cardboard shapes and pad them out with some newspaper and tape those at the end of the legs.
So there's your basic gremlin. Looks cute sitting there, doesn't he? And as you can see, I've added on plenty of tape to make it nice and strong and keep its shape. And it's a good idea at this stage just to check that he'll still fit in the jar. Yep, he's okay, but he still needs a bit more character, so why not add on a few more details?
How about adding a couple of wings that you've cut out from thin card? Pop those on the back into position and tape them into place. And you could always add 2 small balls of newspaper, just scrunch them up, pop them on there for eyes, and again, tape them into place. And how about cutting out some small card triangles for ears, and again, pop them on the side of his head, and you can make up the features as you go along. Then mix some PVA glue with a little water, paste it on, and pop on a layer of tissue paper. And it'll give him a nice texture and seal all those details into place. And you've seen me do this many times. Slop the glue onto the tissue and press it into all the nooks and crannies.
And when you've finished and it's all dry, there he is, look at that. Then you can paint him any colour you like. Now, I've used acrylic paint on this one in shades of green and added a few details in pen. And here's his new home. Now, it looks a bit miserable, doesn't it? A bit empty. What he needs are a few creature comforts.
So, why not fill the bottom of the jar with some soil or gravel and give him a pebble to sit on? You could always throw in a couple of leaves and twigs to make him feel really at home. Or how about an acorn for him to nibble on? And just arrange it all nicely into place for him. And when you're ready, just pop your gremlin into the jar. In he goes. And to make sure he doesn't escape, just cut a square of paper that's bigger than the opening of your jar and wrap it over the top of the jar and keep it into position with an elastic band.
And when he's nice and comfortable in his new home, he looks something like this. Ah, mind you, he looks really fed up that I've caught him, doesn't he? And you can make all sorts of different garden gremlins. How's about different colours and different poses? Look at that. And this one has even got a fabric lid. And you can give them different characters. Oi! This one's escaping. And how about a tiny one? And I've even added a handle to carry him round. Try it yourself. Garden gremlins. Oh, and don't forget, very important, you must pop a couple of holes in the lid so that they can breathe. What? Hey, it's amazing what some artists can do with an enormous block of ice and a chainsaw. Don't believe me? Well, just take a look at this art attack.
Oh, that is amazing. It certainly sent a chill down my spine. And remember, Wayne is a professional sculptor, so I do not want to hear of anyone messing around with dangerous tools. I spent all day working on an intricate ice sculpture using a plastic knife and a toothpick. Do you want to see it? Oh, I left the central heating on and it's all melted. Oh, why does nothing ever go right for me? Oh.
You know, you can get ideas for your art stuff from anywhere. Walking down the street, going on holiday, even watching the telly. Do you know where I get some of my ideas from? The art attacks that you send in. They're brilliant. Thank you. And they're all in the Art Attack Gallery.
Ah, look at this, Alexander's spooky night scene. And I like the way he smudged the moon to help with the spooky atmospheric effect. And Louise has used bold shapes for her art attack, and I like the way she's made some of the shapes look 3D by painting in different tones. And here's a fab pencil drawing from Savannah. I like the shading on the trees, which are casting their shadows on the grass. And this farmyard scene from Sam has been done in poster paint. And look at that stipple effect on the hedge and the cows on the sheep. Good perspective as well. And here's a fantastic picture of the pyramids from Lorcan. And I like the contrast between the corrugated paper of the pyramids and the real sand on the ground.
Yeah, great art attack look, and I love using things like sand as an art material. In fact, that has inspired me to play around and experiment with different types of materials. And you know what I've discovered? A brilliant new way of using this stuff, ordinary table salt. First, you need to wet a piece of paper or thin card and just splosh it on using a nice big brush so you can cover it quickly. Then, when it's nice and wet, it's time to add a splash of colour. Take some light blue watercolour and wash it over the wet paper. Now you could use watered down poster or powder paint for this. Just make sure that it's nice and wishy-washy. Then splash in some nice strong abstract blotches of colour about halfway down the paper. Now I'm starting with red, just flick it on like this, and it goes. And how's about some orange? That's a good strong colour. Again, flicking it in between the reds. And finally, maybe a bit of yellow. And it goes, again, halfway down the paper, just finding the gaps. And again, these paints are nice and watery. And these blotches will eventually become exotic coral on a tropical seabed, believe it or not. Next, add vivid blue and greens to the bottom of your picture, and this will be the seabed. Then, while the paints are still wet, take your salt and gently sprinkle it onto the picture. Just sprinkle it nice and randomly, but be careful, you don't want to put too much on, don't clog it up. Then, just let the paint dry. And when the paint is dry, you'll end up with something like this one. Now the best bit. You need to gently shake off the salt, so here goes. There you go. Look at that. And as you can see, where the salt has settled on the picture, it's reacted with the paint, and as if by magic, it's turned the paint into a tropical coral effect. Now, it looks great like this, but you can use this as a sort of backdrop to paint on more detail. Just check these out. On this one, I've painted some tropical fish swimming around in the coral. And this effect is good for other kinds of pictures too. Look at this, a snowy landscape done with different types of blue. Or even a woodland scene in autumn. Brilliant, aren't they? Try it yourself, saltwater coral pictures. And don't forget, you can check out the website for fact sheets on this and all the other art attacks on the show. And I'll see you next time. Ta-ra!